Welcome to the finale of The Bachelorette. Did you just love this ending? It gave us everything. It gave us love, romance, drama. But here's something that I don't want this episode to end on. Is a bad note that somehow Charity chose the wrong person. She didn't. She chose the right person. She chose Dotun. And let's dive into my conspiracy theory. Let's talk about the new Bachelor and all things Bachelor in Paradise. Let's dive in. Welcome to Reality TV Therapy with me, Dr. Diane. I don't know how you feel, but I feel a little bit bittersweet about this ending. I loved every minute of it. I loved this entire season. And then I'm always sad when it's over. Can you relate? It's like, what am I going to do on Monday nights until September 28th when we finally see the new Golden Bachelor and when we see Bachelor in Paradise? But I just didn't want this season to end because I really thought it was excellent TV. I thought the production was a whole other level. I really loved the main character. I loved the main people at the end. And so for me, this was just a chef's kiss. So let's start with, the evening starts out with Aaron. Let's talk a little bit about Aaron B. No surprises. But I actually thought Charity handled this quite well. Aaron's there on his own accord. Let's face it, he gets free miles to fly to Fiji. And you can't blame him for wanting to get the most airtime that he can. And as it turns out, of course, Aaron is going to be ending up in Bachelor in Paradise. And I feel like this was a good redemption arc for Aaron, for us to get to know him a little bit better, apart from the Braden drama that just really looked bad on Aaron. So I'm happy that Charity gave him another chance. Let's face it, Xavier's gone. If Xavier had been there, he wouldn't have gotten that chance. But I think it was nice that they had a little, hey, let's hang out and have dinner and hang out at my place. And then when we get to the rose ceremony, I thought yet again, Charity knocked this out of the park. She could have just waited to the final end. She gives Joey the rose first. Then she's about to give the rose to Dotun, but she pulls Aaron aside, which is always the right thing to do. Has an exit with him. They part ways in a very respectful way. She comes back, gives Dotun the rose, and then we're on for the evening. But I thought this was actually smart on Charity's part to give Joey the rose first and then Dotun, because it made him just a little bit more nervous for the family visits, right? And we're going to get to that. So let's talk about big picture what's happening, because up until this point, there's not a lot of drama left. With Joey and with Dotun, everything has actually been really smooth sailing. And yet we know what the producers, what they need to do is produce good TV. Something that keeps us waiting till the end. Something that keeps us guessing. And this is where I think what they did is create more drama with this family that I think was manufactured. Call it a conspiracy theory. I think there wasn't nearly as much drama as they made us think that there was with this family. So what really happened here? Because a lot of the comments, people are saying, oh my gosh, you know, Charity's parents really liked Joey more than Dotun. I don't think that's the case. I really don't. Knowing how the producers work, knowing that they want to keep everybody guessing until the end, I actually haven't had any doubts from the beginning that she was going to choose Dotun. I've been carefully analyzing her body language. I broke this down in many of my other videos, that with Joey, it was always more friendship vibes. With Dotun, there was the romance, there was the touching of his face. There was a whole other level. And so I don't want to talk about Joey that much because I want to talk about the love story. I want to talk about Charity and Dotun's love story because I think we got just a little bit too little of this. But if we look at what happened on the family visit, What do we know about Joey? We're going to get to that later when we talk about The Bachelor, but he's a nice guy, right? He has good communication skills. He works with women mostly. He's a tennis pro. He probably works with like women who are Charity's mom's age every day. He knows how to say the right things. I felt like he was also just less nervous, so he could be more relaxed with her family. And let's face it, Joey's visit with the family was the first one when she came in so excited to see her family. And I think some of that exuberance just carried over on that date. But I want to make specific comparisons between Dotun and Joey because this is where people are getting trapped up on. And this is what I say. I don't want this to be another Rachel Lindsay season. If you recall, Rachel Lindsay came down to Brian Albasso, her husband, and Peter Krause. And they wanted us to believe that Peter was really her person because she was crying and she was upset. And it really clouded her relationship with Brian to the point that people kept with this narrative. And I don't want this to happen for Charity. Charity has her own narrative with Dotun that has little to do with Joey. It's really about the producers getting us to watch till the end. So this is where I think, again, Joey was just relaxed and kind of skilled. And we also have, who do we have? We have Vicky, we have her dad, I'm forgetting his name, and we have Amika, her Charity's sister, who, by the way, Charity's sister is 43 years old. She's 27. Her brother, Nehemiah, which I was kind of thought he would have been the person who was there, right? We saw Nehemiah earlier in the first episode, and he's closer to Charity's age. He's 29 years old. But I thought this was interesting that the sister was there to kind of offer sort of advice to Charity. So that's what Joey did well. Joey is skilled at this. I wonder if he's had some media training. He knows how to talk to people. That's why I think it's a good pick for them. But what's the difference between him and Dotun? So Dotun then, let's talk about the second family visit. Dotun comes in and the poor guy is just nervous. Maybe not as skilled in meeting women's parents. I don't have the sense that Dotun has dated that much. But here we have Charity now, who is going on about how she doesn't know. This is where I think this is manufactured. I think she's known from the beginning. And then, of course, as long as Dotun knows that she knows, that it doesn't matter. But she's making it seem like, help me, help me, help me, to her sister and to her mother. I'm really torn. I need your help. And then what's happening, which was the only drama, is that Charity's youngest child here, she's 27, again, her sister's 43. And I really actually liked how Charity's family, the mother and sister, handled this and said, Charity, you have to make your own decision. It's so important that she not pin this on anyone and say, well, I went with what you think. But I don't think that was the whole story. And why I don't think that, and why I know for certain that it was done, is that this is where she gets upset, right? It's when her sister says, well, Joey makes you glow, but Dotun makes you laugh. And she's like, so what's wrong with that, right? Laughter is important to me, and you know that. And you can just see Charity's frustration, like, don't you guys get it? What she really wanted is she really wanted her sister and her mother to say, oh, no, 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 no. We get it, Charity. We got you. Dotun is your guy. And this is why Charity is getting frustrated. And in the entire season, this is where I saw her regress just a little because she's under stress, right? And as I've said, we're all like tea bags. This is our attachment style, that we under stress, our youngest self comes out, okay, our true flavor. And this is where Charity, though I think she's secure, youngest child is saying, somebody help me. And the family's pushing back and saying no. Like, this is a moment where Charity has to completely individuate, be her own person, and stand by her own decision. But the decision's already been made. She just wants her sister and her mother to see it, because that's part of the fantasy of the love story, of this being too good to be true. And the fact that they're not getting it is getting her upset. Okay, so now I'm guessing, as I said, I think it's a conspiracy to bring Joey to the end. Why? Because, let's face it, the primary audience is Caucasian. If it had been Xavier and Dotun, would as many people watch to the end? I don't know. I'd like not to throw race in as an issue, but I think the other thing that's really possible, has Charity already told them this is the case, play along, let's make this look like some drama. Another possibility is that, the mother, because she just saw Charity with Zach, and Zach's a white Caucasian guy. And so, she comes home to her home visit with Zach, and, oh, I'm so in love with Zach, and I want you to meet him. So the mother's thinking, well, then maybe that's her type, okay? So naturally, she'd think that Joey would be the next type because he's also white. But the mother then thinks that she goes for this other type, the type that's got kind of swag. And then she says she's indecisive. The family hasn't seen the whole season. Charity's not been indecisive. She's been quite decisive along the way. And when they watch this back, I think they're going to feel more and more convinced that Dotun really was the right person. But in the meantime, she's asking for help. And I liked the pushback because I think that's the right answer. Flashback to the tell-all when we're in the live season, and we've got Barb and her husband, can't remember his name, Pilot Pete's parents. So here's Charity's mom. Charity, honey, you need to make this decision for you. And then we've got Barb over here. Bring her home to me. What a juxtaposition, because I thought, why are they even in the audience? This doesn't even make sense. But it was at that moment that I thought, isn't this interesting to me? Barb juxtaposed with Vicky, Charity's mom. Who would you rather have telling you and advising you? And therefore, again, my point about Vicky just did a nice job. Okay, but let's talk a little bit more about Dotun. As I say, he's coming in, and the poor thing is just so nervous. Why? Because he cares. He's now gotten nervous. Remember, he got the second rose. So Joey is feeling a little bit inflated because we know, like, order of roses matters. And he's getting nervous that he needs to make a really good impression on her parents. So the family doesn't know, again, much more about him. But I also think Dotun, even though Charity touches him a lot more in terms of the PDA, I don't know if Dotun is as affectionate as Joey. I think Joey's a little bit more in his body, a little bit more able to kind of grab her and touch her. And I think Dotun, if we just notice his body language, is just a little bit more reserved. So the family doesn't know what to do with this. But here's the one thing that I thought was completely ridiculous. What a miss. It's kind of like a commercial when they blip to Dotun asking her father for her hand. Joey didn't ask the father for her hand. Again, I think he was feeling confident. But why didn't they highlight that? So this is what bugs me. Like, why don't we elevate this story like Rachel Lindsay's story? Why do we go back to some bad narrative that Charity chose the wrong person? Why don't we elevate them? And I'm going to get to social media because I think this is why couples struggle so much. And I really just want to focus on the love story for that reason. Okay, so let's talk about proposal day. So before then, we've got Neil Lane, and how cute when Dotun goes up to Neil Lane and like gives him his whole name. So sweet. I just think he's so, again, nervous, kind of classy, how lovely. Both of the men pick out different rings. And of course, it's going to be sad. We know, here's Joey and Charity, who's looking gorgeous, by the way. When Charity walks out in this white dress, I don't think we've ever seen anything quite so detailed. Her hair, her makeup, she looked phenomenal. So Joey comes a little bit, confident, right? He's talking, he's giving his spiel, and then Charity he's about to get down on a knee, and she has to stop him. Whoa, hold on. My heart just sank for Joey. I mean, you know that he knew it too, right? She stopped him. There was the but, and just a really sad moment. But I didn't see Joey. He didn't look like Brandon did with Michelle, just devastated. Of course, he was sad. He was disappointed. But he consoled her, right? He's the people pleaser. He says it's okay. And we see him cry in the limo. But to me, I just don't know. I don't feel it the same way that I would have felt it done if she didn't say yes to him and his level of devastation. So that's my take on it. Again, good for Joey to get down on a knee. And of course, now Charity is just bawling. She's crying. Why? Because she feels guilty. She feels guilty. She had to send somebody home. Joey is certainly deserving of love as well, but she can only give one person the final rose. And so this is just hard. There's so much hype. I can only imagine she's been feeling alone in this whole process. There's just so many emotions running through. It doesn't mean that Joey was the guy. It just doesn't. It just means that there's a lot of heightened emotions, and that's what we're seeing. Okay, so let's get to the moment. I've got Dotun here in his tuxedo, looking dapper. And I have to say, this is probably one of the best proposals we've seen in years. Maybe since Tasha and Zach. Like, that one really hit me hard too, but this one was perfect. And it was perfect because of all the things they said. Okay, the ring was beautiful. We'll get to that. But the love that we have, Dotun says, is perfect. Will you do me the honor of turning this fairy tale into a reality? And then he talks about, well, before he even said that, he says, you make me feel adored, validated, and wanted. And all along, Dotun has been so intentional in his word choice. When he first was in Oceanside and said, I can learn from you, he says some very specific things that really just like touch the heart, more than just like I'm in love with you, but very specific things. And then Charity, in kind, says, you're a man that respects me, adores me, a man that I could love forever. Wow. And then, of course, he asks her to marry him. And she says, yes, 1,000,000 times, yes. I just loved that. And then what is so sweet, and then she's just kissing him, and they're kissing, and then she puts on the ring. And then the little cute, when they were talking about like just a taste, but she did like a little moment of like a baby talk voice. And I thought, oh my gosh, that is so sweet. Like, that's a part of Charity that we haven't seen because she's had to be a little bit sassy to get through it. But like, it was in that moment that I just thought, oh my gosh, these two are just precious. They're adorable. So happy for them. What a dream. This idea that sometimes it's just too good. Let's not look for anything wrong with this relationship. That this has been one of the most flawless relationships we've had. Let's embrace this because we all need some hope. Okay, now flash to the audience, after the final rose. The way that Charity is beaming in that, and I'm wearing my sparkles, in that sparkly dress, she was near perfection. to see the audience. I'd wished her mother had been a little bit more excited. I wish they saw like the parents interacting more. But everybody else is just beaming. Her friends, everybody in the audience, everyone has been cheering for Dotun. And then Jesse, of course, announces that they're going to be going to Greece. How exciting for the two of them. And then the coup d'etat that Charity's going to be on Dancing with the Stars. Who knew, right? I love that she's a little dancer. Let's face it, she was a cheerleader. So I imagine, kind of like Gabby, that she has good dance moves. So cannot wait to see that. Okay, so now that we're done with this amazing love story, again, I could not be happier for these two. I think more is going to come out about Charity saying, I always knew that it was done. I knew it from the beginning. And it was somewhere, I think it was when she was saying that, in Oceanside, I started falling for you. And I'm sure we'll hear more with outtakes and videos that there was just something really special. And we saw that when the last date, right, he took out his little card with his immigrant picture and the scavenger hunt and just all those little moments where there's just a lot of thoughtfulness in this couple. So all good things, and I just can't wait to hear. And I did hear somewhere, I think it was Good Morning America, that they're going to plan to get married in 2025, 26. They don't want to have a super long engagement, and they both do want children. That's the other reason why I really thought it was done all along too, because he's Christian, she's Christian. I was looking everywhere to find out about Joey's religious background. I didn't find that anywhere, so another reason why this is just her perfect pick. Okay, now let's talk about Joey, the next Bachelor. So Joey comes in, and of course he's sad. Who could blame him? That was a very tearful ending in the limo. Joey's like, when is it going to be my chance for love? But here is his redemptive moment by making him the Bachelor. So the producers want to make sure that they're going to pick somebody who the fans like. And I have to say that following Clayton and Zach's season, I actually think Joey is it's a fair choice. Because lots of people were enamored with Joey. He was getting a Bachelor edit from the beginning. And this is kind of back to the more classic, the person who gets heartbroken becomes the Bachelor, Bachelorette. We've seen this all too many times. I haven't been that crazy about that narrative because I always worry if they're not hung up on the last person and how can they switch to the new person. But here's what I liked about how this was done. This story really landed. It really ended. And Charity was so specific in her wording, and she said, I want to make sure I get this all out. And said specifically, this will make sense later. And now that Joey gets to watch it back and see that it was always done, he doesn't have to wonder the would have, could have, should have, maybe it would have been me, maybe if I'd said this or that. He put it all out, and they weren't a fit. And now he can be so happy for Charity and Dotun, and Charity can cheer Joey on, and it's kind of a win-win for everyone. Now, personally, I really think we should have gone with John. I really think it's high time for having more diversity. I would have liked to have seen another black lead. I think Matt James got gypped on many levels. That was a tough setup, but they're going back to what works. They're going back to a pleasant guy, and at least Joey has good communication skills. So I'm hopeful about that. So I've got Joey and his tennis racket here because this reminded me a little bit like of Ari, where Ari was like the race car driver and there was more about him and what he did, and now Joey and the tennis player. And so somehow I feel like they're building this up, and I'm sure there'll be lots of memes about tennis and love and all those other things. So maybe Joey is really going to surprise us. Again, I'm going to stay open to the process. I'm always curious about the people and the cast. But I do think that we're getting someone who now we know a little bit more about. Because Joey made it to the end, we know him a little bit more than like even Zach, who made it to the final four, but there was that whole issue with Rachel and we never found out what actually happened. So I'm hopeful about that, Joey, I just want to give him, lots of positivity. He's a Green Bay Packer fan. What else do we know? That he likes country music. He likes hiking. He's a very physical guy. We see him surfing. He lives in Hawaii. He was originally from Pennsylvania. And I tell you what I wasn't crazy about. After the final rose, the two women in the crowd, I just thought this was kind of weird. The one woman from Hawaii, why didn't we talk about sending relief to the people in Maui? That was like a miss for me. I get it that she's saying it's like a small community, which I've heard it's hard to date there. I get it. But that was a miss. And then the other woman who was like the life coach, the blonde woman, it's like silence when they said she's a life coach. And so I thought that was, I don't know, a little bit weird. And then the woman, the Hawaiian woman who got the envelope, what is she supposed to do? We're supposed to wait for 4 months to see, is this like a Survivor thing that she gets a special idol or something? I just didn't understand where we were going with that. We could have omitted all of that. And I think it was just a way sort of to fill it in. I would have rather have seen more of Charity and Dotun than I would have seen that. But I do think that Joey, again, is a fair pick. And I think a lot of women will be interested in Joey. I'm hopeful that he's going to be able to handle, again, a lot of these tough breakups. Okay, then the one thing, did you notice on The Bachelor in Paradise, they just sort of slipped in that somebody gets married? I was like, whoa, what is this? We've never seen this before. And because it was just a kick, because it was always Chris Harrison who said, I want to meet a couple that is so in love that on national TV, they agree to get married on the spot. Now, what I've also heard rumors, I don't know who it is. I asked people in my Instagram stories, if you don't follow me on Instagram, back to Love Doc. But I asked in my Instagram, does anybody know who this couple is? And someone told me that it's an older couple or someone that had previously met on Bachelor in Paradise. So it's not someone who immediately meets and gets married. But who knows? So also fascinating. So what did you think just of the overall season? Let me know in the comments. I really want to get your commentary. Did you like my Barbies? I'm thinking for the Senior Bachelor, the Golden Bachelor, will I do something different? I like to mix things up, but I want to know what you thought. Did you love this season as much as I did? I'm hopeful at some point to talk to Charity just as another therapist. So many smart moves that she made, so much that we can learn from how to handle this. To say, even when her mother said, you have a gut, follow your gut. I thought all good pieces of advice for you in dating. So I just hope if this is your season and you're still looking for love, may you be the Bachelorette of your own season. May you be the Bachelor of your own season. And hoping that everyone, like Don and Charity, can find love. Thanks so much for following along, and I'll see you soon.